we obviously have the 2027 college season and crazier things have happened. So, and when I say crazier things have happened, we have seen crazy things happen. This is probably the is this crazier than Antonio Brown's complete breakdown at Tampa Bay? Maybe. Is this crazier than the Patriots moving on from Tom Brady? Maybe. I would say in terms of the trading sphere in my NFL lifetime, and I say NFL lifetime is in from when I've started it, this is the most mental. And it is the Maxx Crosby trade. That's what we're going to be starting off with in this show, which has completely collapsed between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens. On Friday, March 6th, the Raiders and the Ravens reached a tentative, very tentative in the end, blockbuster agreement. Price tag of 2 first-round picks, including the number 14 in the draft coming up, which the Raiders then would have had the number 1, the number 14. We said, what a deal. Great deal. Not an overpay at all. Baltimore getting a fantastic edge rusher. Raiders have got now their quarterback of the future in Fernando Mendoza, and potentially the second, or maybe the second best O-lineman or second best wide receiver coming into this draft. Maybe even the first one, depending on how it all looks at that top of the board. Tuesday night, it comes out that Crosby failed his medical with Baltimore, Andrew, with his knee. And then they basically said it's off. It was a torn meniscus in his left knee. And apparently he was ahead of schedule. Baltimore didn't feel that way. Completely off the table. You have been watching NFL way longer than me and Adam. Has anything catastrophic, I suppose, for the Raiders, in a sense, when you first looked at it, happened before?
The only instance we've had this before is we've had it a couple of times with coaches. Obviously, Josh McDaniels is a big one that got cold feet and backed out of being a coach. We have also had a player do this. I think it was more free agency than trade, where we had Emmanuel Sanders commit to a team and then back out of it and go to someone else. But this has actually happened on a smaller scale twice already at the Baltimore Ravens with DeCosta. It happened with Ryan Grant, the wide receiver, committed to the Ravens. And then Michael Crabtree got cut from the 49ers, and they backed out of the Ryan Grant trade and brought in Michael Crabtree. And it also happened with Michael Brockers as well, where they backed out, failed his medical, and then he went on to start 2 seasons without missing a single game. So the Ravens have actually got previous of doing this already. And DeCosta's already got previous as this. They're just on smaller scales, aren't they? They're exactly the same thing, but just not 2 first-round picks, a contract that's worth like 30 plus million pounds each year. They were on a lot smaller scale. So no, we haven't seen anything like this in the past ever. I think mainly because they've changed all the tampering rules and trading, and it wasn't as big back in the day, and superstars didn't move around like this. So these blockbusters weren't a big thing back then. But yeah, this has happened before, just not on the scale that we've seen it with the implications being first round picks and big contracts.
Well, let's move the timeline on, because then basically they consulted with an independent specialist, the Ravens, and they expressed what I've got is major concerns over long-term prognosis of the knee given his heavy career workload. The Raiders then reacted and put out, quite frankly, a little bit in poor taste for me, of the Ravens have backed out, is off. And it's a bit like, okay, all right, Vegas, you've gone and spent a lot of this money. We in fact said smartly spent the money on players like Tyler Linderbaum, who they've given a record deal to. They've brought in other players as well that we was like, well, that's a good move. This is a good move. You get Fernando Mendoza in. You've got Clint Kubiak. This is going to be good for the Raiders. This is going to work out. They then do something like this, which is a very, I think, poor organization look, really, to be honest with you, where they sort of went, no, they're to blame. And Baltimore were a little bit like, we're not really to blame. Like, it's just, we just don't think we really wanted to. It's not them, it's us. It's the special. Like, I don't know. Adam. Like, it was very much who we're gonna who we're gonna blame it on. And then what happens is within 24 hours, really 13 hours actually, of the trade falling through, they then sign ex Cincinnati Bengal Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher, to a 4-year, $112 million deal, and then come out and go, oh, but what we really want to do in the ideal world was trade for Maxx and have Trey. That was the plan all along. Are you buying any of this, quite frankly, in my view, bullshit?
No, not really. Look, I think personally, I think what's happened is you've got a bit of buyer's remorse here, and I think that they've gone out and they've spent the money on him and the draft pick capital on him, and the in reality they're just I don't quite know what happened. The Raiders doctors seem to suggest that he was, like you said, fine and was in good time to come back, and he was going to be all right. And then the Ravens doctors obviously felt that it was a different story. But you sort of think, well, we all knew that he had surgery. Like it was pretty common knowledge that he'd gone out, he'd had the surgery done, that he missed the last 2 games of the season in order to do this, and that it kind of just felt a little bit like, well, you knew all this, so you knew that when your doctors got to him, they were not going to find a healthy knee, because it just wasn't going to be. So that's a bit weird. Then you've got the whole thing where I remember me and Andrew were recording a draft show, and before we started doing it, we were talking about it, and I was just sort of like saying, you look at the timeline, it's strange how it worked. Cincinnati would never, ever, if they had kept Hendrickson, say like they franchise tagged him again, there was no way that they would ever have traded him to the Ravens. So that was never, ever going to be on the cards. He was never going to be a Ravens player unless he became a free agent. So you sort of look at it and it gets a little bit, you can't quite exactly work out what happened first, or I haven't been able to see what happened first.
Well, there has been some more news come out since all this drama, hasn't there, with the to and fro from the two clubs, that the Ravens were in conversation with Trey Hendrickson at point of combine. So, like before they traded for Maxx Crosby, they had conversations with Trey Hendrickson's team, and the census was that Trey Hendrickson was wanting like over 120 million, 40 million a year, in which I think Ravens were like, that's too much. So they did have the conversation with them, and they went, oh, that's too much. Maybe we go for Crosby. And then obviously Trey Hendrickson, with his age and having an injury as well, didn't find a market for what he was asking for, and then became a hell of a lot cheaper because no one wanted him at that price. And that's when the Ravens then went back in on him for that. And in terms of the medical stuff, I have heard from Ian Rappaport that it's not possible to fail a medical. There's no such thing as failing a medical in terms of the NFL. Apparently, they can say that there's something in the future that might hinder them. We want to back out, but you can't fail it. There's no physical like test you do, and you go, oh no, you didn't, you failed. And apparently, a point of shaking hands and saying, yep, let's do that deal, the Raiders must hand over all the medical reports as well, all the scans, all the x-rays, all of that. So at point of saying, yes, let's do the deal, they handed everything over they had. So I think that's where Raiders are going, we gave them all of the information when we said, let's do a deal. So there is a bit more information come out from this that points to the Ravens being full to blame here, and the Raiders actually not withholding any information, or if you like, selling them something that wasn't there.
And of course they got completely hoodwinked as well, really, because I know no one signed on the dotted line just yet, but they did go out and spend money they didn't have without that Crosby move. And yes, they can restructure it, but they were offloading Crosby's 30+ million salary, bringing in these players, having a massive refresh. Again, all three of us said quite positive moves, quite a lot what they did, gave it maybe a little bit money to some players, and we would have said maybe bring that down a little, but they got completely hoodwinked. And then Crosby, after all this, puts out a social media post basically going, I'm back, I'm with the Raiders. I mean, I there's only two possibilities of this, and one of them is he gets traded eventually, and that could be during season. I really think that could be during season. I mean, he's got to, there could be that could happen. What I would like to happen, and the Cinderella story in me and the sport story in me, is Crosby goes back, takes a big deal, but like a friendly-ish deal, and they go on to make the playoffs this year, and he goes on a rampage. And I know maybe not breaking the sack record. I won't say that, but maybe being top 3, top 2 sacks for the year. They get to play. I'm not saying they get to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say get an AFC Championship. They just make a playoffs, scrape in the playoffs. Maybe some may say. And he just really gives it a bit of a stick the middle finger up to like, you broke the promise, not these guys. And actually, these guys fulfilled what they probably said in behind closed doors to me, that okay, if we're not got the direction we're going in, Max, or when the time comes and you need to leave or you want to leave to go on to potentially push for a Super Bowl, we'll let you do that. Thank you. And the response of the Raider Nation and the team moving on with him, and the response from Crosby was so mature on all fronts. So that's what I think it makes the Ravens look even worse here, is actually an organization that's notoriously been pretty bad and not ran that well was exceptional throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it does feel like that, doesn't it? It feels very much that it's one side, and that they're the Ravens are the ones that have kind of come out of this looking worse than what the Raiders have, and it's a very strange one. And obviously, like you say, it kind of throws a lot of things up in the air, but certainly for the Raiders, because I think the plan obviously was to have the picks. But I mean, they can still operate with Crosby there. They've got the cap space in order to do it, so that's not a problem. But yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately the idea of them being a playoff team, even with him, I think it's pushing it a bit because of the division that they're in. That's the problem, and so it's just going to be tough.
I know I'm in fairy tale with that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've seen Myles Garrett have sensational seasons, and Brown's not qualified for the playoffs. So if he's up to that level, then he's might miss a bit. But I think that's kind of what you're saying, aren't you?
Yeah. Do you think he stays though, Andrew?
I think they, like I said, that they can operate in a state. I don't think he really, his message that he put out when he left, he loves that organization. So I think he'd be happy to stay. So I think if the option is we haven't found the right trade partner because the deal's dropped loads now because of this whole always failed the medical, then they keep him. I'm sure he'll be happy to stay and happy, like you say, to prove a point. So I think Adam's right. He may get traded. Did Adam say this? May get traded during the season. I think that could be a possibility. Fred. Yeah, I think that could be a possibility.
I think that might be more a possibility. I think there might be a team that it's a little bit like I'm not going to. It's not comparable in terms of the player, but when like Washington went on a run and they traded for Marshall Lattimore, like that sort of thing. Like there might be a team that goes on a little bit of a run and goes, we could have a real good shot here, and they go a little bit all in on this season. I don't know who that would be. I couldn't give you a team that might look like, but
no, but you could argue, say, like the Patriots in the year we've just had. If a team does something like that, it would make sense to go for it with someone like Crosby and bring him in.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at the season just gone, I mean, you could argue Seattle, but then Seattle's defense was so good they probably don't need him. But yeah, probably New England, Chicago could have been one that could have gone all in, I suppose.
Every year there's going to be
Yeah.
teams, isn't there? It always happens. So.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I don't think I could like confidently go, right, this team's going to have a push next year. Could be an hour and ever snot. I mean, there could be an it would be mental. And I don't know how they'd do it. But it would be sensible if someone like the Bills were like running away with it. Not running away with it, but were like in that top 3 bracket in the AFC again, and we're like, this is like the now or never. We got DJ Moore in. Offense is running wild. Defense still needs a little bit more. You know what I mean? Is that silly? Is that ridiculous?
No, I think any team, like I say, I think any team that's in a position that feels like they've got a chance and they're in contention, he becomes an obvious candidate to try and get hold of. And I think the good thing is I think you'll get him at a price, even if he's fully fit. I think you'll get him at a price that's less than the 2 firsts that he was going to go to Baltimore now. Because you can just come out and go, oh well, he's getting older. So I think that will happen. So yeah, there's like I say, every year there's teams that are sort of like around that point, just before the trade deadline. They feel like they've had a good start to the season. They can kick on. A team like the Colts did with Sauce Gardner. There's loads of that. There's always teams that do it, and someone will jump at the chance to take him on.
I would dip my toe into gets traded at the draft if the class was better. I just don't think anyone's gonna. I don't know. You go on, do you want to go up? Do the Raiders want to go up and get?
There's decent edge rushers in the draft, though, isn't there? So
I'm more saying like the Raiders. Yes, the Raiders got the 14 pick, and they'd been very happy with that with the movement. But at this point, if it was draft night, you're going up. Like you're going up to get someone, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you not think that what would make more sense is to do it in season to then get picks in 2027 for a draft class that is much better?
Yeah. And that'd be that for the Raiders. I feel like next year, either way,
that'd be great for the Raiders.
Not well. The Raiders are hoping to maybe double their win tally, 6 wins, 7 wins. Yep, we're competitive in games, we look good, and they'll go, that's a tick, we're really good. We're not trying to get to the playoffs in 2026. 2027 maybe. So I think that's probably when it'd be better for them to have the picks in 27, 28 if possible than it would be for 26, because they're not trying to win in 2026.
Well, yeah, in a weird kind of way, it's not necessarily the worst thing to happen for the Raiders.
No,
when you actually look at it, I just don't think they'll quite get that amount back for him from now, but actually it might sort of push the picks across in a slightly different way and a bit further back. And the Broncos, the Chargers, they're not going to be bad overnight. They're going to be good teams in these next, and the Chiefs as well. So it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world for them.
I mean, it's not under this Raiders iteration, but the Raiders did once have 3 first-round picks, and they only took 1 stud, and the other 2 were bust with a capital bit. Could name me the 3 players that they took?
Arnett,
Cleveland Ferrell.
Cleveland Ferrell was one of them. I don't think Arnett was one of them.
Henry Ruggs.
I think it was
was it Leatherhead, the offensive lineman?
Oh,
Alex Leatherwood. Yes, Leatherwood. It was. I thought it was Jonathan Abrams.
I think it was Arnett and someone else.
What year was it?
Gosh, Adam, you should know.
Really? Have you got the names?
I know who it was. I know who.
Oh right, I won't bother looking.
I know for certain Ferrell was one of them. I think the 3rd one was Jonathan Abrams. I don't know why, but I know the 3rd one is a stud.
Well, we may as well just check it out now then.
He's a stud. He was a stud for the Raiders, and he's been a stud for the Green Bay Packers. And you're going to go...
Oh, Jacobs. Jacobs went that year, didn't he?
Josh Jacobs, yeah. Josh Jacobs was the 3rd one, I'm sure.
What was... Have we got the list?
I'm looking now.
Well, Josh Jacobs was definitely the one that was really good. Clelin Ferrell was the one they took with the 4th pick, I think.
What year was it?
Even at the time, that was a surprise. I remember that being a surprise at the time because people were like, "Oh, they've taken."
Right, 2019. Clelin Ferrell, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abraham.
Jonathan Abraham, the safety. Like, yes, I knew it. And what were the picks? 4,
24,
oh no,
and 27.
I would have said 27. I knew it was in the 20s somewhere. One of them, Jonathan Abrams.
Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett were 2020.
Okay.
And Alex Leatherwood was 2021. So they over them 3 years, they really did well, didn't they?
History. Jeez Christ.
2022, no first round pick.
1 out of 10 players. That is their hit rate. That is, God, Fernando Mendoza is going to be so trash, isn't he? He is not going to be good.
That's not the same people in the building.
No, I know. It's a different iteration of grades, obviously.